I'm Nicole.
And I'm Bella, and this is the Grand Bruno Hall podcast. And today we have our friend Xuan.
So my name is Xuan Huynh. I'm a sophomore. I am a finance major, minoring in philosophy at Birmingham Southern, and I am friends with these weirdos.
Okay, so right off the bat, you're obviously a busy person. I think that everybody knows this. Can you tell us like your involvement on campus and your positions and those things?
So I am commuter rep for SGA. I'm also C3 director of finance. They all have different names, like treasurer or whatever. Currently, what is it? I'm in Hilltop Investment Club. I'm the first girl in it. It's exciting. I found out about it through the advisor. She was like, "Oh my gosh, a woman!" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "You're the first one." I think they've had it since 2017.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was exciting. Yeah. I'm also a Stump Scholar, which is like a business major thing, and then I'm also in We the Neighbors. I'm the treasurer right now. Nicole is the president.
So why did you choose BSC?
Okay, so I chose BSC after I toured. I realized that this was the space that I wanted to further my education in. I didn't want a big school. I always wanted to be homeschooled, which is kind of weird because I feel like everyone's like, homeschool students are weird, but I thought that was like the life.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to go to UA, which is like the University of Alabama. I didn't want to go to a big SEC school. And UAB, I hate driving, and I can't even imagine how parking would be at UAB. And so I was like, I can't do those. Sanford's way too expensive, and I don't want to be like around super, snobbish-y people. I don't know. Like, we're just from different backgrounds, I feel like. So I did not grow up very privileged. So I was like, BSC seems so humble. Everyone on campus, like when I was being toured, the tour guides would say hi to everybody. Like they knew everybody's name and they could connect them and tell you like their life story. And I was like, wow, this is a very close, tight-knit community and I really like it. So I talked a little bit and I really liked that they had a cross-cultural committee and all the organizations on campus I really wanted to get involved in. So that's how I chose BSC. I was very lucky to find BSC because I could not, and I didn't decide till like the last day that I had to decide. So it was a miracle that I found BSC.
Yeah. You mentioned that you're in the cross-culture committee. Yes. I feel like the cross-culture committee is something that impacts students in a broader perspective. It's not just like about BSC, it's about the real world. Why do you think that something like this is important to campus, especially at a PWI?
I think it's really important because you learn and educate yourself with all these majors and all these classes, but you have to learn how to interact with people. And nowadays with technology and stuff, I feel like our generation is really bad with reading a room or having casual conversation, and just the common sense stuff isn't so common sense anymore. And especially with how many the diverse culture that we have now in the United States, you really do need to educate yourself and you need to be aware and cautious and respect other people, and that is becoming educated in their culture and holding yourself accountable, instead of being like, oh, I just didn't know, because that can be very offensive. And you saying something offensive one time, they've heard it a million times. So it's your one mistake, but it's the millionth time they've heard it. And I mean, nobody deserves that. So I think it's really important to be prepared and educate yourself before you go into society, and also celebrate people's cultures and make them feel like they are something to be celebrated.
So moving on, how did you decide your major?
I always knew that I wanted to go into finance, especially towards the end of my senior year, early junior year of high school. Okay, so all the Asians, we know, your parents are like, okay, lawyer, you're not interested in being a lawyer, okay, you're a doctor now. And I really tried to go into the medical field because I was like, it's a very reliable field. People are going to get sick every single day, it's a necessity. So I was going to go into nursing, and then I took a health science class at my school, and I would take notes, do fine on the test, sleep through it. Like, it was just so not interesting to me, and I hated being in there, and I hated feeling like I was a part of something that I wasn't interested in at all, and like having to pretend to like it. And so I was like, okay, so health is not my thing. And then I just kind of really, I'm a planner, so I just like really dived into like career options, and I found finance, and I was like, oh, I think I really like this. I've always been very good with my finances and like saving and just love stacking coupons on top of each other, but it's something that caught my eye. And then investment banking is like my specific focus, and so that's kind of how I decided on finance. I don't have anyone in my family that's like in finance. I don't have any like family friends or anything in finance, so I'm kind of just learning it like as I go and figuring out the ropes. And I didn't realize it was such a like small like niche for especially like women. I think it's so hard to find women in finance who aren't like hesitant to help you because they feel like their position could be jeopardized. And I completely understand that, because I've seen a lot of shows where this is terrible. I'm like Netflix, but I've seen shows where women can't speak up because they aren't in a position where they like are completely secure yet, and they can't support other women. And it seems like, oh, how could you not support, you know, other women when you're a woman in this field? But it's like, oh, my job is on the line if I do something. Like, you have to get much more secure to be able to make a big difference. And I feel like slowly women are, you know, climbing up the corporate ladder.
Absolutely. So with that sort of struggle, how do you feel about entering a male dominant field?
It's definitely intimidating, and like the jokes aren't as funny as I thought they would be, but everybody else laughs, so I just pretend to. It was scary at first, I will say. I think this year I really like found my ground, and I've like gotten much more confident because I speak up a lot more now, and I, you know, put myself in conversations. I don't feel like I'm the odd one in the room, because I really think that's something you do to yourself. Like, I walk into a room, and I have great women in the business department as well. Like, our dean is Dr. Robichaud, and she's a woman, and she was doing a panel where she talked about how you kind of put yourself in that position and say, oh, I am the woman in the room, I'm not respected, and stuff like that. And you can't, if you do that to yourself before they can even do that to yourself, you're already like giving yourself two double advantages. So I just try to like not think of myself as anything different or less qualified than they are. And I do like have a hard time speaking up, and I like struggle through my words because I can like feel my throat getting hot and like heating up and being nervous, and my voice will shake sometimes. But I think you just have to get through it and continue, because then you'll realize that you are just as capable as they are of like having a conversation. And then you find yourself like being brought into conversations, and you're like, wow, I'm like respected at the table. But that's something that I feel like we have to earn, but we shouldn't have to earn, you know? So it's just a part of it, but definitely understand that you are meant to be there as much as they are.
And I know that you're a first generation college student. You told me that you didn't even realize that until you came to BSC.
Yes, it was actually really embarrassing because everybody was like, oh, I'm first gen. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And a lot of my friends, like Nicole, you're first gen as well, we're first gen, and that you guys were doing all of these things together, and you guys had like shirts and all these cool activities that they were lining up for first gen students. And one day I like asked, and I was like, what is like a first generation student? And they're like, somebody like a teacher was like, you're first gen, and because they had like gotten information from me before, just like talking to me, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm the first student or I'm the first child like at a college, like a 4-year college for my family. And I was like I'm first gen? What do you mean I'm first gen? And they're like, yeah, you're like, your parents didn't go to college. I'm like, yeah, they didn't. And she's like, yeah, that's what makes you first gen. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I like completely filled out all of my college applications wrong, but I found out eventually that I was first gen. And it's definitely something I'm very grateful that BSC kind of has an organization for on campus, because it is so confusing getting through college, especially when it comes to finances and deadlines and just like the normal things that your parents who had went to college before would be like, hey, make sure you do this, or just a reminder, it's this time of the year. We don't really get those reminders, and my parents were like, oh, so how's school? You know, he's still making good grades, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So it's very nice to have that type of guidance, and I'm very grateful that we have it here at BSC.
Yeah.
And I feel like specifically at BSC, we have, I don't know if it's just the way that the school is set up, but I think that it's very accessible for first gen students to kind of like climb up.
Absolutely.
And obviously that is something that they have to go through, like a mental struggle of like trying to find everything out on their own.
Yeah.
But how do you think that it like benefits them being able to climb up?
Oh my gosh, I think anybody can climb up at BSC, which I thought was very interesting, like even lower classmen. I think it's really advantageous because you're given the opportunity to take these roles and learn these skills that otherwise that would take like years down the road for you to actually have the ability to. And then it's kind of late. Like you are earlier in learning these skill sets, so you're able to apply them earlier in life, and that comes to like a job or an internship when, you know, leadership skills aren't really given, or leadership opportunities aren't given to people at our age.
Yeah.
And it really teaches us how to be just good team players when it comes to group organizations, or like being on a team when you go to work eventually one day. I think sometimes I'm shocked at like the, not like power, but like the freedom we're given to do certain things and learn things. I'm like, wow, they really trust me, or they really think I'm qualified.
Yeah.
We obviously have to go through like interviews and stuff like that, but I'm very grateful that we're able to do things that some people are like, wow, you get to be in charge of that budget? And I'm like, yeah, it's crazy, I know. But yeah.
So sort of going on with your first gen and like all the positions you have you found a mentor that you really look up to and has really helped you?
I think I have a lot of good mentors. I had like a peer mentor, which is a program we have at BSC, and she's like become my best friend, really. Like I'm like tied to her hip, and I've really made a wonderful like relationship between us two. So I think that's like my student, like my co-classmate mentor. And then I have a mentor in all of the women in the business department. I feel like there are people who I can reach out to like any day of the week, ask like the most weird questions, I guess, just because I don't understand that world as clearly yet. And so I reach out to them, and also I've been talking to our president a lot more as well, President Coleman, and just like hearing him talk about the world of investing and stuff like that. I've reached out to him, but I think I have mentors, I guess, in everyone I meet, like getting advice from them. I think it's good to, you know, have people you look up to, but like not to idolize somebody so much and like put that pressure on them and be like, oh my gosh, you're everything I want to be, because everybody is definitely like flawed and they have their weaknesses and stuff. But obviously it's nice to have guidance when you're confused or lost, or when you don't know like what you need to do or how to increase your chances of getting an internship or something like that, because we've never had to do that before. So I have a lot of mentors, but I try to get lessons from each person I meet, whether it's like a stranger I meet at a convention or something. I try to get advice from everybody.
Yeah.
And I know that you've had this like internal conflict between what you want to do in your careers. I know that mostly finance, possibly lawyer.
Yeah.
You know, how are you feeling about that?
I think I've just accepted the fact that I'm gonna go with whatever like comes to me, or whatever opportunities come to me. I'm gonna do my best at both.
Yeah.
And then whichever one, you know, like takes me the furthest, or I guess sways me, will be the one I go on. But finance, I would say, is like my passion. I would probably still like learn about it, even if I wasn't doing finance and I had to do another career.
Yeah.
But law is something I kind of picked up in college, and our wonderful like advisor, he talked to me and he was like, yeah, you should definitely look into it. He's very persuasive. And a lot of people like growing up always told me like, you would be a good lawyer, you should consider it. I think it's just because I was like bossy and like like to argue. But I really liked it. I took logic, which is like the hardest law class here, and I did pretty well. And I think I could definitely see myself in that role, maybe even like corporate law or something like that. But I'll see where it goes. I need to take the LSAT, and if I get a really good score, like genuinely a really good score, I probably will go to law school.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna take it as a don't go into law if I get a bad score.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh darn, I can't even get in any law schools anyways. So let me just go on to finance. But yeah, I think it used to stress me out like really bad for sure, and I think I voiced that to you. But I'm pretty chill about it now. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
So what goals are you pursuing right now?
So it's the new year, and so I guess, I don't know if everyone does it, but I set resolutions.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be more, like, I told one of my friends that I was gonna sit on the bench this year, and I was not gonna be so like active and like busy, even though it'll be probably hard to do. I'm not gonna try to completely like put myself in positions where I'm so overwhelmed, and I'm kind of I want to better all of my weaknesses. Like I want to take all my weaknesses and kind of strengthen them, and then work on like building myself, building my skills, because I'm about to go into the workforce, and I feel like that's something like I need to lay a good foundation so I can have a good career and keep focus on things. Like I'm really trying to do a detox from like social media, and just, I know everyone has that resolution every year, but I really am trying to stay away from it, because I love like to read and like educate myself where I don't have to take a test, you know what I mean, in different ways. And I feel like social media definitely is a distraction, whether we believe it or not, and it will like completely consume me for hours if I let it. And I just don't want to waste time like that. Like time is like shortened. I feel like every year we get older. I'm like, this is not the same year as last year. Like this was way shorter.
And with your studies, as finance or like with law, where do you see yourself going post grad? Like, do you want to go to graduate school?
So growing up, my parents, we moved from Vietnam to the U.S. so we could get a better education. So graduate school was always like, growing up, that's a for sure. Like obviously you're going to graduate school, no option. Like everyone knew that we all had to go to graduate school. And then I got to college, and then all my mentors were like, don't go to graduate school. And I was like, what? You're my mentor? Like, I feel like that's something adults aren't supposed to tell you. Like, high school teachers aren't supposed to tell you, don't go to college. You know what I mean? And they didn't, but they didn't say that. But that's what I felt I was receiving when I heard that. And they were like, yeah, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'm not really sure. Like, I think somewhere in finance or something in finance. And they're like, okay, well, if you don't have a specific, niche that you want to go into, why are you going to graduate school? And I was like, great point. Oh my gosh. They're like, you need to go in the workforce for like 2-3-ish years and get that experience and know exactly what you hate doing, and find out what you love doing. And then you'll also have a network of people that you can like put on your resume, and like you'll have these connections to go into graduate school with, because especially getting an MBA, I've been told that it is very much like the connections that you make and the people that you're around, not necessarily like the education. I know the education is good as well, but it's definitely the environment that you're experiencing that's why the price tag is so big. But yeah, I would always tell people, especially being a freshman, like, oh yeah, I'm going to graduate school, and like you should go to graduate school. But like I feel like I've told you a million times to not go to graduate school. I'm like, you don't need to go to graduate school, girls. But I won't be going to graduate school immediately after college, which will feel so weird, because I think I will feel like I'm being left behind. And I think that's something a lot of us feel, even like people who didn't go to college. They're like, oh, I feel like I'm left behind because I'm working. And I'm like, no, you're getting a head start. You're paying off loans. Like, you're about to buy a house. I'm collecting debt. Like, there's a difference. But I think that's the thing with our generation as well now, how we don't have to have a specific like route or specific road that everybody has to take. So whatever like fits into your interests or whatever you think is best for you in the long term, because there's a million ways to get to one spot.
So you're a very busy person. We sort of touched on that before.
Yeah.
What would you say is your proudest accomplishment?
Maybe like just the person I am. I would say like I feel like BSC being here has made me so much more well-rounded and aware, and I really value that in myself. Like I don't think there's a specific thing. I mean, yeah, making good grades, you know, like passing a test that you've studied hours and days for. But I would say like the person I am and the people around me, how I'm able to like filter the negativity and not let it really get to me, and find good people, like surround yourself with good people and be able to recognize when you have someone important and significant, not to like let them go, because there's a million people, but they're not always all, you know, looking out for you. So I think I'm very proud of my friends and the people I surround myself with, and like the person I am and who I've become.
And going about like with your friends, how have the friends that you made in high school compared to the friends that you've made in college?
Yes. So I did not go to very diversified high school. And me and my sister, I think, were the only like Asians up until middle school. It was very weird. Like they thought we were twins because they had never seen any other Asians. Yeah. So like they automatically were like, oh, y'all are twins. I'm like, we look nothing alike. We're 2 years apart. But, you know, that's just how it was. And then coming to college, I was like, wow, like people actually have the same background as me, and it's so nice, and you feel like so much less alone. And I don't think people in high school were like intentionally being like, oh my gosh, you're so different, but it's because I was so different. And so like being here, I feel like I don't have to explain myself, or I don't have to like, they just get me, and like my friends, they just understand, and we can joke about things like that our parents did when we were younger, and just things that other people wouldn't understand because they weren't raised like in like an Asian household or something like that. And even like you growing up, I feel like we have a lot of similarities too, and we're like, you're not Asian, but but we can relate on a lot of things too, based off of how we were raised and how we approach things like financing and just being very careful with our money and stuff like that.
Being careful with our money. I feel like a lot of people I've met at BSC are super careless with their money, and I don't know if it's that they've never had a job, it's that they don't work. I don't know what it is exactly. What are like tips and advices, or like why do you think it is important to be aware of your money at a young age?
I think being aware of your money is just discipline. It's building discipline, because I feel like we always are like, oh, if you know, make a good grade, then like treat yourself. And I understand that like to an extent, but like I mean, maybe not treat yourself every time you do good on like a worksheet, or I feel like people are they're working towards a break. And you're never like working because you enjoy it, or you're working because like you're passionate about it. You're like, oh, if I do this, I can reward myself with this. And I mean, that's a good way to, I guess, accomplish some goals and stuff like that. But money, I've always told people that money is a tool, and like it actually has no value. Like money has no value, in my opinion. I'm not an economist or like a financial advisor yet, but I think money is a tool, and it's a very important tool though, and everybody uses it. So that's why it has such significance. But you have to be able to weigh like your choices like further in life and make really big decisions. So it's really good if you can make small decisions now and realize that you're not being frugal, because I know people are like, oh, people might say you're just like stingy and stuff like that, but I'm like, I know that if I save now, I will be able to reap benefits later, and they'll have more value. Like those benefits will bring me much more joy than like snacking every single day, or like buying food every day. Like I can save for a meal, and I can get more out of that money. And once you start to like not work for money and like let money work for you, that's, I feel like, the end goal. But I don't want to work for money like for the rest of my life. I think that's exhausting and tiring. So I think it's really important to start and become disciplined at a very young age, and also know, because I spend my parents' money like I would spend my money. Like if they ever give us any money to like go somewhere, if they know we're going on a trip, they're like, oh, here's gas money. And it's so funny because every single time my sisters and I bring them back their money, like to the penny, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. And I'm like, what's so shocking? And they're like, well, you know, kids usually don't return money to you after you've given it to them. But I would spend like my friends' money, my family's money, like I would spend my own, because I know how hard it is to like work for that money. And I worked at a really early age, maybe a little too early. Wasn't legally able to work yet, but I feel like we all did that. You know, like people cut grass and stuff like that. So once I like started working, I couldn't stop because I loved the financial freedom and like being able to say, oh, I can do this because I worked for this money. And I feel like paying with your own money is so like much more gratifying than using somebody else's money to pay for something. So I've always understood what it takes to get that money, and I think that's maybe why I don't spend it so fast and like so, you know, carelessly. And I think that's why some teenagers, because I mean, college students, a lot of people like don't have part-time jobs, or they aren't able to because they have sports or something else. So like they are being given their parents' money, and not everyone, I guess, sees how much work it takes to make that money. So yeah, that's I think why college students are a little more reckless. Yeah. And we're also really impulsive. Like I still am slightly impulsive when it comes to certain things, but I like when it comes to buying things, I'll think about it for like years. Yeah.
So this is just like a broad question, but where do you see yourself in 10 years? Or where do you hope to see yourself?
10 years. It's a long ways out. So I'll be 30. Hopefully I've been to at least one job where I understand what I do and don't like. Like I don't think at 30 I need to be at my last job. Gosh, I hope not. But I hope that I'm out of my parents' like financial burden. Like I hope I'm able to pay off all my college debts to them and be able to support myself and like, you know, pay all my bills and stuff like that and not have to rely on them financially. And then I also would like to be really skilled at something. Like I love being good at one thing. But I hope to have multiple skills, but like I hope to do something really well that somebody is like willing to pay really good money for me to do. So that would be nice. And I want to travel more, obviously. I am not like tied to Alabama at all. Like take me anywhere. Any job recruiters out there, I'm yours if you have a good price tag. But I hope to just see the world more, stay close with all my like college friends, and like make more connections and meet new people in different like walks of life. I love talking to old people. I think they have the best advice and the best stories too. They're hilarious. But yeah, I hope I'm just really happy at in the career that I'm pursuing whenever I'm 30.
Tell us your ideal class schedule.
So I'm an early bird. I'm like a grandma, so I need to be in bed by 10. So I start my day pretty early, and during this e-term, I wake up at 5. My class starts at 9, and I like to get a few things done before class, whether that be like class work or just what I have to do the rest of the day that I have to finish. I would say I like 8 a.m.s, and I know a lot of people are like, you know, college, I feel like everyone avoids 8 a.m.s, but I love 8 a.m.s because I like to be out by 12. If I'm in class during lunch, it like drives me insane. I like am so upset about it, and I'm like so grumpy. But I like to be done by 12, and then so I can have like the rest of the day to do whatever I need to, catch up on anything, and then start my day early again the next day. Yeah. I would also, a lot of my classes have been like, the breaks that I get in between are like 5 minutes literally. So it's like running across campus to go to the next class. And our campus is small, so that's not too bad, but like I'm out of breath by the time I get to class. So I'd like a 10-minute window to like maybe go to the restroom before I go to class. That would be nice. Yeah, but the morning classes, they don't schedule that very well.
Yeah. Obviously, like we've talked about connections and how important connections are within the business world. But in the aspect of the connections that you've made at BSC, how do you think those will affect you outside of camp?
At this point in my life, I feel like I choose all of my friendships. and I get to like decide if this is something I want to take seriously, and like I choose to put this person in my life and I choose to not put this other person in my life.
Right.
So I would say it's kind of it's like your family, like your community. You're kind of collecting a bunch of family members to add to this family that you get to pick. And so like some people are very, like they'll bring you certain knowledge and like advice and stuff like that, but I feel like outside of like academics and stuff, I'm meeting people to like take on this journey with me and like take on all my battles, and like I know that these are people that will always be there for me if something happens, and I plan to be there for them as well if like they ever, you know, have any rough times during their life. So I think it's not necessarily just making friends. I think these are like really lifelong like relationship commitments that you're kind of investing your time and energy into.
What would you say is something you've learned at BSC that you don't think you would have learned at anywhere else?
I don't think I'm a mean person, but I think you should be nice to everybody you meet, because everyone is, you know, like experiencing different things from you, and also you never know who your next boss is. And there's so many people that are connected within each other at our tiny campus, like our very small group of our small community. And it's best to just be nice to everyone. I think it's harder to like be mean and aggressive and like be grumpy or rude to people, but you never know who you're meeting. You never know what they need or what they're going through. And I've learned that it's better to like just be okay with people, not have any drama or any problems. Like it just makes your life peaceful, and it just, when you see people, they're like, oh, hello, like how are you? And it's just so much better than like avoiding people or being like, oh, there's tension there, and like having that on your shoulder and like it be a burden and stuff like that. So I think I've learned it's so important to be nice to everybody, and you don't always have to get something out of a relationship.
Right.
I think that's really crucial as well. Like it can strictly just be, you know, a friendship that you don't like get benefits from, and you shouldn't always want something out of people. I think that's not going in with good intentions. But yeah, like you can just have friends, and there can be no strings attached, no ties, like nothing crazy, no expectations. Those are definitely the best kinds.
And at BSC, what is like some long-term skills that you think that you've gained here that you think will benefit you?
I think I've learned how to fire people. I think I've learned to be able to deliver bad news, like really well, and that it doesn't have to be bad news really. Like it can be something, you know, unappealing and like sad, but you can make it as good as you want to. Like you don't have to fire somebody and like slam the door on them and, you know, tell them they're a terrible person. Like we've had to go and experience and like let go of some people in our organizations that were probably just really busy. Like they're being a college student, they have many other things that they're doing, and they didn't realize what they were getting themselves into. And obviously they don't want to hear you say, hey, like I don't think you can handle this right now. But delivering it in a way that makes them feel like, you know, they can maybe try this again next year, whenever they're free or freer, and they're not so cluttered. But I've learned that, bad news delivering bad news doesn't have to be a bad thing. And I would say that it's really good to speak up, because most of the time other people have the same question, or even if you feel like maybe your opinion wouldn't be supported, to say something at least, because I've had a lot of experiences where I've said something and I'm like shaking saying it, and I'm like looking at everybody before I continue, and I'm kind of sweating, and then after the meeting or whatever, after the class, someone will walk up to me and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad you mentioned that, I'm so glad you brought that up, like I really thought that, or I agree with you when you were saying that. And so it's really nice. You don't have to be there to please everybody and like get everyone's approval, even if you like are doing something for one other person that also feels that way. I think that's really important.
I know what the class we had together, I would always make you speak for me.
Yeah, I did. But that class was so funny. I love the professor, though. We had a macroeconomics class together, and I love economics.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed his class so much, I was tempted to change majors. Like, it was that serious. Yeah, I love economics.
Yeah.
So he was a really good professor. And he never like taught from a book. Like he had his slides, but he would like teach from real life experiences and like draw stuff, and he was never following a script, which I really enjoyed about him. But every time something was like due, or like, she is such a like good studious like student, because she would be like, okay, like I'm looking at this essay, and she loves to prepare beforehand, and I was like, when is that due? Like she would always tell me when the due dates were, but she was like, what are the criteria for the essay, or like, can you ask him how he wants this, like do we need all of the notes, like how does he want us to give this to him? And I would always ask, because I feel like I just talked too much in that class, but I enjoyed it.
We had a dynamic in that class.
Yeah, it was very interesting. She was very quiet, but I like made up for that quietness for sure.
Okay, so moving on, a little more serious topic, if you will. How do you feel about the news surrounding the school?
BSC, yes. So it's really sad. And when it was released, I was like devastated. And being on SGA, they sent an email to us, and kind of Lauren Barnett, our president, love her. She reached out to us and was like, hey, like if you guys need anything, let me know. Like this is kind of the situation. And I talked back and forth with her, especially, I think it was more our job as SGA to reassure students, but not like reassure them in a way to get their hopes up or something. Like I wasn't saying BSC is going to stay open, but I wasn't saying BSC is going to close either.
Yeah.
Like I was very much, I was staying optimistic, but I was pretty realistic when I was telling people the situation and what was happening, and I was just making sure that our like peers were taken care of, and like not worrying and stressing, because we have classes right now, and people are gone and they're away and they're not directly on campus to ask the questions that they want to ask. So I want to be available for everybody. And I think Lauren's done an amazing job at that, and I feel like she is a much better like spokesperson for it than I am. But anyone who's like asked me, I've told them as much as I know. There's some things like we obviously can't like disclose and stuff like that, but it's not, I'm still very optimistic about it, and it's not super like dreary and sad every time I talk about it. Like I'm very optimistic, and I love BSC. Like I cannot imagine us having to close, and hearing that news, I really did not like that they released it in the news like that.
No.
It was definitely hard to receive that from the news rather than from like our president or something.
Right.
So
Bad journalism.
really dirty journalism, but that's okay. That's how they like make their money. You know, everyone has to survive. I think that's how it is with like paparazzi. Like when I was younger, I was like, man, paparazzi, they stink. Like, why do they do that? Like, why is it? But I'm like, they have to make a living. You know, everyone has to do stuff, and you might not like it, but it's a part of the job, really.
So to close out this episode, we asked you to bring a special item. So you'd like to
So
share
my
that?
special item is my water bottle that I carry around campus. It keeps me hydrated.
We'll go ahead and expose. We did not tell her to bring a special item. We forgot.
Nicole totally forgot to tell me to bring one, and then I was like, what do I have on me? It's also E-term, so I don't have like all my books or like a lot of my stuff. Like there's a laptop in my backpack, that's it. And so I had this water bottle. But I will say that I started putting stickers on the water bottle once I got to BSC, because these stickers I'm so proud of. But yeah, I've dropped this water bottle plenty of times, but I have a bunch of fun stickers on it to keep me motivated when I'm sitting through class. It needs a lot more stickers, but we're working on it. Yeah.
Perfect. So thank you, Xuan, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Everything. So this has been the Grand Bruno Hall podcast. Tune in next time.